In this episode, I continue my exploring for little oases of greenery in Singapore. So this is the first precinct I visit, Punggol Lodge. Again, HDB flats in many ways are quite similar, but nevertheless, they all have their little, perhaps quirky features. I like all the various large rocks here, reminiscent somewhat of Japanese gardens. You notice how clean the estate is. This is very typical of Singapore. Singapore has a reputation as being a very clean place. And this is during a busy weekend as well. So as I walk along here, I approach an interesting feature you see shortly. I thought I'd experiment with my videography and do a hyperlapse sequence. So you see very shortly as I approach these rocks that are inside a circle. Here we go. I hope that wasn't too dazzling or dizzying for you. So the next precinct is Punggol Vista. And look, I have a little ant there. Another philosophy student. You get philosophy students everywhere. So again, we have this greenery. Remember, this is an ordinary housing estate. I'm not claiming that every housing estate has such lovely landscaping, but they all have their good features. This is some sort of drainage area. So Singapore is very good at collecting rainwater and recycling water in general. So as I walk along, you can see the various, again, Japanese style rocks. Now, there are also plenty of places around here, which I haven't filmed, for people just to sit down. There's lots of nice benches and that. This appears to be some sort of performance platform. One can imagine perhaps people dancing or that. I quite like the design of this building. I think it's a kindergarten. There's a nice bench and table there, well shielded from the sunlight. And every now and again, you do see a quirky feature. Here, a particularly quirky feature are these little sculptures that one finds. Now, of course, work is an important part of Singaporeans' lives, so I thought I would travel to Raffles Place next, in the heart of the central business district. This is Raffles Place MRT station. So coming out of Raffles Place itself, and here's Raffles Place. So surrounded by very tall office buildings. It's all very futuristic looking, but where is the greenery, you may ask? I shall show you shortly. Step 1, the importance of well-being. I want you to think of your memory as actually being an excellent memory. Many people often say, oh, I have all sorts of problems with my memory. I have a terrible memory. It's like a sieve. I want you to actually start from the premise that your memory is excellent and then think, well, what is it that is taking away from my excellent memory? I would suggest that it is because of certain issues surrounding the body, surrounding the brain, that our memory is not as good, perhaps at times, as it could be. We have to remember that the brain itself is a physical organ. Exercise is medicine for the brain. Any exercise, any physical exercise that you do which increases the blood flow, increases the oxygen to the brain, is going to help. Another factor which affects the brain adversely is lack of sleep. So if you want to restore your memory to its proper functioning state, you really must get a good night's sleep. And it must be quality sleep. If you look at a blue screen in the half an hour preceding going to bed, this is going to keep your brain awake. I really like the greenery, the nice landscaping here. Here there's a little Japanese garden, isn't that splendid? There's even a sculpture by Salvador Dali. Isn't that amazing? Out in the open. You can imagine if you've had a stressful morning in the office, coming down and just having a quiet reflective moment to restore your equilibrium. Step 2, trust your memory. Now, one of the things that I think affects memory is we often give it votes of no confidence. We rely upon writing down shopping lists or entering into our mobile phone a list of things to do. If we just simply trust our memory, that our memory will work, if we give it votes of confidence, then I think the psychology involved will cause us to find that actually our memories can be quite good. Step 3, pay attention. The next place I visit is MacRitchie Reservoir. Many Singaporeans visit MacRitchie Reservoir to go for a quiet jog or a moment's reflection, particularly in the evening. I'm going to make my way to the treetop walk. It's quite a long walk. It's probably about 4 or 5 kilometers from the entrance. Now, people often say they don't remember something, but I wonder whether they really memorized something in the first place. Say, for example, you have difficulty remembering people's names after you've been introduced to them at a function or a party or so. But did you really pay attention? Did you really learn the name in the first place? Part of this, again, is related to, are you tired? Are you stressed? Because if you're tired or stressed, you're not going to be able to pay full attention the way you should. Step 4, some visual mnemonic techniques. Now, the ancient Greek philosophers recommended some ways to help strengthen your memory. Most of the time, we rely upon visual images, maybe 90% of our memory, something like that. And these mnemonic techniques employ the idea that you think of a very familiar place, maybe walking around inside your house or going on your favorite country walk. It's a very, very familiar scene for you. And at various points along the way, so as you're walking maybe from room to room in your house or along the country lane, you make powerful images. Say, for example, you're trying to memorize your shopping list. Say you want to buy some bananas. So in the first room, maybe the living room, you imagine there's a troop of monkeys there throwing bananas at you. And then maybe the second item you want to buy is a pint of milk. So as you walk through your house, maybe you walk into the first bedroom, and as you open the door, a large bottle of milk spills, shatters before you, and so on for the other items. So the idea is, by exaggerating these images, it helps to make them much more memorable. To record the list in your imagination, walk through the house, visit each room, and see that image. This creature could be a philosophy student, but unfortunately, this creature hadn't studied ethics. It tried to grab the food and drinks from CameraWoman. It wasn't successful on this occasion but I suspect it communicated with its fellow monkeys further up the trail. Which is that your food?
Yeah.
Oh, you're kidding!
Yeah. I wanted to eat and then they just came and snatched it.
You mean that's all our food?
Yeah.
That was our picnic after such a long walk. Gone. No point crying over thrown bananas or spilt milk. We proceeded to the treetop walk. Step 5, some non-visual mnemonic techniques. Some people, though, are not good visualizers, and some material we have to memorize is not easily expressed in terms of images. So it's all very well trying to memorize a shopping list. We can form images of those. But what about if we're memorizing, I don't know, mathematical formulae? I would suggest that one way to help memorize non-visual data is to try to employ as many senses as possible. So let's say, for example, you're trying to memorize a mathematical formula. Write it down on a piece of paper. As you're writing it, say it. Got muscle memory. You can see what you are writing, so there's a little bit of visual. If you're saying out aloud, you've got the muscle memory from the mouth moving. You've got your hearing. So try to engage as many senses as possible. After the trauma of the monkey incident, and somewhat dehydrated and hungry, CameraWoman and I returned to the Heartlands and visited a restaurant. I really enjoy this train delivering the food. The food was excellent. And we finished with a dessert of chen dal with durian, which was delicious. Afterwards, suitably refreshed, we went to Orchard Road for a little bit of retail therapy. I discovered this wonderful fountain at Takashimaya. Isn't that excellent? Step 6, exercising the brain for the longer term. Throughout your life, it's important to build up your grey matter. This will aid you in a variety of mental functions, including memory. So if you can learn a second language or something like a musical instrument, these will all help to improve your overall cognitive status. And hopefully, in old age, you'll be less susceptible to neurodegenerative diseases. Please give me a thumbs up and subscribe.